Hello and welcome to the British Sitcom History Podcast. As always, I'm Gareth, and with me is Alan.
Hello.
Hello, and we are going back to St John's Wood for the movie adaptation of Man About the House today.
Nice, very nice.
Is adaptation the right word? It's a spin-off. Adaptation is a bit grand, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, but although having said that, it's kind of not quite canon. We'll get into that. It's not continuity of it's very complicated. We'll see.
There are a couple of differences which we will analyse in grievous detail. So we've already talked about Man About the House. If you haven't seen those episodes, then please do go back and watch those. But we're going to talk about the film today, and we're not going to go through it in brutal scene by scene detail, but we will approach it in chronological order. And then we'll spin off and talk about some of the other things that it brings up as we go along. You know the drill. But why don't we start with the opening credits? Because they're not the same as in the show, are they?
No, we seem to have a specially written theme song.
Is this normal? I can't remember. We've watched so many movie spin-offs. Do we usually get the normal music, or is a specially commissioned song the norm?
No, they do have. I think with the "Are You Being Served," it was a sort of jazz funk version of.
Oh, it was. I remember that. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Do you want to hear?
They've commissioned a whole. You've got a clip. Play the clip.
I've got a clip. This is just not the whole thing, but just
before you play it, Alan.
Yeah.
Let me just tip my hand. It's dreadful.
Okay, and with that intro, here we go.
I've always had it easy with a man about the place, steaming up the mirror when I'm making up my face. He's just
very
a
relevant
friend,
words.
A helping hand, a ready, willing smile.
So we've got these nice line-drawn caricatures, which I quite like, actually. I quite like the graphics, although I don't know why it's orange.
There we go. That's a sort of a taster.
Yeah, I quite like the graphics, but the music's awful. I mean, what are they thinking?
I don't know. It was the 70s. I'll tell you what. I'll give you this though. That has been stuck in my head all week. I've been humming about.
That doesn't make it good.
I want a man about the place. That's all I've been humming this week.
Yeah, just because it sticks in your mind, that doesn't make it good. It's like saying heroin's Moorish. It doesn't mean it's good for you.
But yeah, so we do have these specially created opening credits with caricature line drawings of our characters in sort of various little household escapades. But we also then fade into street exterior.
Yeah, we get an exterior shot of Middleton Terrace. And we talked a little bit about this in our episode, about where it is. It's in St John's Wood. And I think, have you done a bit of research on this area?
I did. Well, I looked up the actual place because it zooms in on the sign that says Middleton Terrace, but it's clearly a sign that's been sort of gaffer taped to the fence.
Stuck over another one, yeah.
There's another sign behind it. So I did look up actually where it was filmed, which is sort of St John's Woody kind of area, but it's near Maida Vale Tube Station, which is where Chrissy gets dropped off at the tube in the film.
Yeah, we see Maida Vale Tube Station. Yeah,
it's kind of near Lord's cricket ground. Also, quite near Abbey Road Studios, if that's just the context for anyone. But yeah, so I thought
this is all incidentally for people who don't live in London. These are all areas of London, which is the capital city of Great Britain.
A large conurbation in the southwest of England.
Quite so.
So I did look up this street, and these houses where this was filmed are still standing today, which is not bad. 50 years later. But I thought, I'm going to have a look how much these houses are worth.
Yeah.
And
so it's like 3-story townhouse, isn't it?
Yes.
Or maybe the upstairs is an attic. I don't know. But you'd certainly have 3 different groups of people living in it today.
There are. The one I looked at, I found had 5 bedrooms, I think, spread out over the floors.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So I found one of these that sold in 2024 for £3.9 million. So how realistic
is that London for you?
How realistic is it that George and Mildred own this house in this context?
Well, it was a different time. It was a different time. You know, in 1974, 74, this film was made, wasn't it? 1974. You know, St. John's Wood was not gentrified. It was not, you know, there would have been nice places there, but you know, it wouldn't have been, obviously it wouldn't have been worth 3.9 million, but even adjusting for inflation, it wouldn't have been worth anywhere near like now.
Yeah, well, the housing market's gone crazy, which is partly what this film is about. So we'll get into that.
Yeah,
because someone, the point of the film, the general gist of it, is that someone is trying to buy all these houses, including the one they live in, to knock them down and build offices rather than homes, and that is going to create scarcity of homes in London.
Which is you know something that's still happening now, isn't it? You know, people being driven out of central London by rising prices. Before we get into that, there's a nice establishing shot of the flat, because this is great. So we get to see the living room, we get to see the kitchen, we get to see the bathroom. It's really good. So we get a good Britcom pod gorp at all the decor and the set dressing. I really enjoyed it. I was pausing it and checking it out.
Well, I've got it. I'll get you some visuals up here and we can have a little look at it. But just to set the scene, this is 1974, so that's what the sort of decor we're expecting. In fact, this film, as best as I could tell, it was filmed in kind of March, April 1974, which would have been in the gap between series 2 and 3 in the TV show. However, it didn't come out until Christmas that year, which would have been after series 3. So
this was a Christmas film. You would have gone to see this at the cinema at Christmas.
As far as I could judge from looking it up, December, yeah.
That's a nice treat.
I guess that's nice, isn't it? All right, let's have a look at the flat.
Show us the flat then. And bear in mind that this, you know, you'd have been at the cinema, this would have flashed across in the space of 4 or 5 seconds. We're going to analyse this in painful detail. But nevertheless, I think it's quite good set dressing.
Yeah. Okay, so we start at the very I'll get right back to the start there.
Let's start right on the left. Now that is what I'm going to call an Emmanuel chair. You get that reference?
Well, that's very 70s, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. So that's the sort of chair that any self-respecting paedophile would sit on.
You need a naked lady draped over it, really, to sell it properly.
Yeah, what about that lampshade there? Is that a tubby naked lady? I can't quite tell.
Oh, the lamp itself, the body of the lamp. I don't know. It could be lamp, it could be an owl. Or yes, it could be a sort of.
This is one of those Rorschach things, isn't it? I've just seen a tubby naked lady. What about that chair there? That's I'm going to call that a teacher's chair. That looks like the sort of chair that our teachers had when I was at junior school.
It's a very basic chair. It's like if you drew a chair as a child, this is what you draw. There's not frills to that. And the table it's up against is essentially a desk, but it looks like just a large phone.
What about that sewing machine? They've got a sewing machine on the table.
It's a sewing machine. That's what's on there. Yes, of course.
It's a sewing machine. So do you think in 1974 every house, every woman would have had a sewing machine?
Yes, I think, unless you were particularly out of pocket and you couldn't get one. Yeah, it's a standard household item,
maybe not every house. I think certainly let's be honest, every woman would have known how to sew. But maybe not every house would have had a sewing machine, but I think most middle class houses would have.
Okay, so as we pan across, we've got this beautiful wallpaper here, sort of purple flock.
Can we stop it there? Stop it there. So in the corner there, it looks like we've got an umbrella stand with what I believe is a narrow oar in it.
That definitely looks like some sort of oar, yes.
Where does that come from?
Some umbrellas. Who knows?
There is an umbrella stand. There's not an elephant's leg.
We just need to create a bit of space up the wall here. Let's fill some space.
So we've got other things we can see here. We've got a nice fur-lined coat hanging up, probably Robin's. There's a guitar. I don't know who's playing the guitar. We've never seen anyone play a guitar.
A guitar, interesting. I'm trying to think if we ever saw Robin play a guitar in the TV show, and I can't specifically remember anything. But I think a guitar wasn't for the ladies in the 70s, was it? Not for them to play. I mean, to woo them, obviously. Yeah.
It's the not until grunge, really. So we've also got. I mean, this seems like a relatively minor thing to point out, but there's a glass ashtray on the table there, and this is a thing. We see someone smoking later on in this film, and it's just like ashtrays were ubiquitous when I was a kid. There was an ashtray everywhere, and they stank as well, And that's just something you do not see anymore, and for the better, I would say.
It was one of the things I noticed in the TV show. Robin particularly always had a fag on. Like, he was never had a cigarette out of his hand, and it was a different time.
But that's not a choice. That's not a production choice. That was normal. That was default.
It was a guy smoking. Yeah.
Yeah. What about just spin it on a little bit? What about this art on the walls? It looks sort of. I'm going to say it looks a bit like Gustav Klimt, but I don't think it actually is. Is it? Would it be too strong to call this
Klimt reference of the show?
Would it be too much to call it fin de siècle? I think that's what it is, and I'll stand by that.
Yeah, it's a busy room. There's two more of those chairs. They've got matching chairs, and it's all it's that 70s floral kind of wallpaper, so that the walls feel like they're closing in on you. Like, now everything's nice and clear and plain, isn't it?
Yeah, much more minimalist. Go and spin on a little bit, because we've got a nice drinks tray on the
Let's have a look.
Dresser there, which looks like whiskey and sherry. There's an odd sort of red coat soldier ornament there as well. I'm not sure what the hell that is.
It's probably a pepper grinder or something. It's probably got some function.
I think it's an ornament. My grandma, who when I used to go and stay with her, she had ornaments. She had on a windowsill, on a dresser like that, and it was like, that same size, sort of 5-6 inches high, little porcelain people. And she was very proud of them. I think that was a thing back then. You had ornaments.
Ornaments, yeah.
Let's go into the kitchen.
They do have the bar. The bar consists of 2 bottles, one of which is half empty. So it's not a well-stocked bar, but that's the life they're living, right? And then we go through into the open plan kitchen / dining room.
I tell you what, you forget that fitted kitchens are a relatively recent thing, don't you? Like, if you look at that, the cupboards and things, they're just like cupboards that have been put against the wall. It's not fitted. You forget that a fitted kitchen wasn't always a thing.
I'll tell you what's kind of slightly blowing my mind here is a kitchen roll holder with kitchen roll.
I thought kitchen roll was a modern phenomenon as well.
Yeah, we certainly didn't have it when I was a kid in the 90s. Maybe that was just our parents. Not spending good money on kitchen roll.
My mum still regards kitchen roll as a waste. You've got a perfectly good dishcloth. She's not wrong. And we've got a nice old-fashioned cooker there. If you spin on a little bit, there's an old-fashioned cooker with a grill and a plate warmer. That reminds me of my granny's cooker. Yeah. I remember those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a whistling kettle. Beautiful, lovely stuff.
Yeah. I'll say the place is quite nicely decked out. It's a bit 70s, but it's neat. It's tidy. It's everything's in place.
Obviously, we have analysed this in graphic detail, and it feels to me like there's a sense of, have they overdone it a bit? But it was 1974. I think the question is not, have the set dressers or the production designers overdone it, but did the 70s overdo it a bit?
Certainly did. And then this open plan does then transfer us into the bathroom.
So whilst this is playing, we've had this voiceover going where we're led to believe that they're all in the bath together, but then we get this reveal they're not in the bath, they're just arguing over the mirror. But Joe is in the bath.
Joe is in the bath.
She is. She is.
Yeah, obviously, we have the standard TV bubbles, the modesty bubbles, I like to call them.
Modesty bubbles,
with no bath on TV has ever not had bubbles because you can't see people's bits. But I don't know. I've shared flats with people. I've never even considered being in the bathroom at the same time as them, naked or not.
No, I don't think so. So we see our characters here for the first time. As I said, we're not going to go through this in quite such graphic detail for the whole 2-hour film. But can we? I feel like we've skipped over. How did this film come about? Like we know that in the 70s it was quite cheap to get these things made. So just tell us a little bit about the production and how it all came about.
Well, I'll tell you what, I did look into it briefly. I mean, it's just one of those things. It was, hey, this is a good established product. Let's make a film version and we'll make some money out of it. But it was made by Hammer Films, Hammer Productions. I'm sure you're familiar with them. What does Hammer say to you? They'll use you as
it's Hammer Horror, isn't it? Hammer Horror, and very specifically Ralph Bates in Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde that made me feel unusual.
Yes. Yeah, so Hammer as a production company name is associated with horror. But they did do quite a few other comedy films and all sorts of other things. So I actually I decided to do a bit of a deep dive on Hammer. If you would indulge me as such.
Let's do it.
Now, this is a nice bit of history about the British film industry, which is kind of my jam. So I did go into this, but hopefully it is a sort of interesting tangent for us all. So I'm going to take you back, Gareth. I'm going to take you back to just after the First World War. Okay, so 100 and odd years from now. And there are two brothers. They're called Will and Frank Hines. They're jewelers. They live in Hammersmith. And they decide... Beautiful British names. They may have been changed after emigration. But yes, Will and Frank Hines decide to split up their operation and go their separate ways. And Frank Hines went on to expand his business in jewellery and is now still known on high streets as F. Hines. Are you familiar with the jewellers F. Hines?
I'm not a jewellery guy, mate.
Oh, well, neither am I, but I definitely know the name. They have over 100 stores in the UK. So that is the same company. But Will Hines, his brother, went on to carry on in the jewellery business, but he wanted to diversify a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And he started putting money into all sorts of stuff, including he set himself up as a little bit of a producer in theatre and music hall. The popular art forms of the day. And I think this was mostly because of his desire to be on the stage, because he did actually perform as well as being a producer with not a huge amount of success. But he did
this like Michael Knighton doing Keepy Uppies on Old Trafford pitch? There's no way you get that reference. Let's just leave that. If you got that reference, well done. If not, don't worry about it. Move on.
So Will Hines, he did go on stage as a performer under the name Will Hammer because he was from Hammersmith, so he just took that as his stage name.
Nice.
And then in the 1930s, excuse me, in the 1930s, he started getting into cinema. Cinema was becoming a big popular thing. I do feel like he was mostly just chasing the money. Like he was like, all right, what's the next thing I can expand into? Hey, no problem with that. That's all right. So that is when we created Hammer Productions. It was 1934, and it only ran for a few years because, it just wasn't being particularly profitable, and a war came along that was kind of put a pause on everything. Sure. But it was revived again after the war in 1946 by Jimmy Carreras and Anthony Hines. So Anthony Hines is Will Hines' son, and Jimmy Carreras was the son of one of the other owners of the company. So basically they kind of passed it on to their sons, so to speak.
It's like a generational shift.
Yes, but now this is the 40s and 50s where they started to actually make some films. And I want to put a bit of context on this, right? So at the time, the British film industry, there was an act of government that created what they call the film quota. And it meant that 20% of films shown in British cinemas had to be British made.
But I suppose what they're doing there is they're manipulating demand, aren't they? They're saying, right, there is a need now for British films. And But did they do anything to stimulate the supply? Did they put any money into production?
Gareth, you have identified one of the major problems with this, this thing. And so
I'm not an economist, but
So the consequence really was that American studios gave British companies money to churn out quick and cheap B-movies so that they could be shown, fill the quota, and then get your American films in. And so the American studios created it. And so people, enterprising people like Will Hines, come along and go, right, yeah, I'll have some of that money. I can churn out films. And that is what Hammer Productions was doing. That is what, and if you look at Hammer films, even the horror films, the ones that are really the successful ones, they're all very cheap exploitative films. They're just like knock them out. That's their brand, right?
I think Hammer films are great, but they're not. They're not rich productions, are they?
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of their charm as well. And a lot of these the quota quickies, they used to call them, they've sort of been reassessed in recent years, where you can actually, the great artists did interesting things on small budgets, like where film noir comes from, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Hammer, they found their first success in adaptations. They took very popular radio serials such as Dick Barton, and they made film versions of them.
Right. Okay. Good.
Yes, in the 50s. This is, and then when TV came along, they did the same thing. BBC was now a thing, and their first sort of huge success was a film version of the BBC's Quatermass Experiment.
Yeah,
which I'm sure you've heard of.
Familiar with that, yeah.
Yes, and that being a horror film, that led them down like, great, people want horror, let's do horror. And they really leaned into that. And they were just like, right, let's get some of this stuff churned out. Oh, look, Dracula and Frankenstein. Frankenstein's out of copyright. We'll have a bit of that, So it was established material that they could use.
As we're recording this in 2026, the idea of exploiting existing IP is not, not a new thing, is it? It's not a revolutionary idea.
No, exactly. And, that's what Hammer built their industry on. And they had more success than most of the companies doing this. And it was because of this horror thing. They kind of leaned into the horror genre and found all this success. I will say,
you're going to bring us back to sitcom at some point on.
Okay. So in the late 50s, when they were really hitting their stride with Dracula and Christopher Lee and all that kind of stuff, that was when, in 1958, they made I Only Asked, which was
which we have reviewed.
Yes, that was the film spin-off of the Army game. So we've done that. So yeah, right back then they were doing that sort of thing. It was certainly in the first raft of kind of comedy things they did. They were doing just these adaptations of other.
Well, when we talked about the Army game a couple of years ago, that was, we established that was one of the first generation of television sitcoms. So we're talking about sitcom adaptations. It's obviously going to be one of the first.
Yeah. Well, they really just absolutely kicked the arse out of the horror market. They churned out horror films, and it was like, yeah, there you go, that's it. And people kind of got sick of it. And that was partly because the law changed. This quota thing changed until the Americans just went, all right, see you then, no more money. And so Hammer had to kind of like churn out sequels to their established product in order to keep ticket sales going. Yeah. However, that wasn't working that well. And so it was the early 70s when they kind of came back to sitcoms, and On the Buses was in 1971. And that was a huge success. They had a lot of success with that. They did 2 more sequels to that. They did Love Thy Neighbor, the film version. And Man About the House was basically one of their last films, certainly of their kind of prime period.
Can I interject here? All of the examples you've given are they all ITV sitcoms? Was this different for the BBC sitcoms?
I don't know in terms of. We've seen BBC
so like the
sitcoms.
The Steptoe films, for example, the Alf Garnett films, were they Hammer?
No. But they weren't BBC. It's not like the BBC were like, we'll make it, we'll put them.
They weren't producing them in-house, were they?
No. I don't know if it might just be who you got good relationships with, and so you can negotiate them or whatever, or I don't know what doors you can get your foot into. It might just be as simple as that. Just to tidy this all up, I'll give you a quick kind of history of Hammer like since then, because in the 70s they essentially folded and officially liquidated in 1979. But over the years, because of that Hammer name that still carries weight in the horror industry, not to mention their back catalogue of stuff that someone always owned it, in one way or another. But I found this just quite interesting. Lots of attempts to kind of revive it over the years, but the one that really came to something was the Dutch TV producer John de Mol, who Endemol, yes, who is a billionaire. This is the company who created.
Didn't they invent Big Brother? Yes,
Big Brother. I think Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Richard, what's his name? Richard Osman used to work for Endemol. He used to be a producer for Endemol, I think.
Yes. That's why he's so good at quizzes. But yeah, this guy John de Mol, he was a billionaire just off the back of that, and he bought Hammer, I mean, I'm saying he bought Hammer. It was like via some sort of private equity firm that he was,
Sure.
I don't know, like the sort of shenanigans of big business. But ultimately, it was him trying to get into films, maybe, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they did produce more films. They produced more original films. The most notable one that I thought of that I've actually seen was Woman in Black, this adaptation of the play with the Harry Potter boy. So that they did produce
the Harry Potter
some,
boy.
So they did actually start producing new material again, and most recently, their most recent film was a 2023 version of Jekyll and Hyde starring Eddie Izzard. I don't know if you saw it.
I do not remember that. No.
Yeah,
no. 2025.
No, God, 2023. That was now 2023.
Okay, that's very recent.
Yeah. However, it has recently been sold to a theatre producer called John Gore. He is a theatre producer of some note, albeit it seems, what I've read, he's more of a money guy than a creative input guy. He's not like Andrew Lloyd Webber producer. He's so I think this is his attempt to get into the film world instead of theatre. He's bought out the Hammer name, and so far not much has happened with that. But it looks like Hammer Productions are still a going concern as of 2020.
I guess if you're gonna, if you want to start a film production company, then you're starting from scratch. If you buy in the name, you are at least getting that IP, aren't you? You're getting that back catalogue. It's worth something.
Yeah, starting point. Yeah, exactly. So sorry about that was a bit of a tangent, but it really interested me. So there
tangent
we go.
to what we're here for. We
should get back into the film, though, shouldn't we? We should actually look at the content.
Well, actually, so we get back into the film, and as I said, we've seen our main characters, but we had to see Larry. Larry comes along to collect Robin for work. There's a bit of bad driving shenanigans, aren't there? We have sort of comically speeded up film stock of Larry driving really bad, like on the pavements and everything through London. I don't want to get too deep into the nitpicking the continuity here, but Larry came to pick Robin up, which means he doesn't live there. So we said in the series he only seemed to move in a bit later on, didn't he? So maybe that's this is before that.
So yeah, this was filmed between series 2 and 3 when Larry was just a friend. However, in series 3 he moves in, but within this film, Larry does not live in their house, but he lives next door.
Oh, does he?
He lives next door. Okay. Yes,
I missed that.
It's not obvious, but there's a couple of comments where when the neighbor sells their house, he's like, "Oh, I've got to find somewhere to live now." Okay. Yes, he lives with a middle-aged gentleman and Melvin Hayes. We'll get into them.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, we saw. I know what you mean, but I didn't realize Larry lived there.
He's talk their about. Lodger, yeah.
I see. Well, let's talk about George and Mildred because we see them next. George has got a cigarette on. He's coughing his guts up. Best one of the day. I like that.
Yeah, we have slightly different continuity for George and Mildred as well from the series because it's relevant to the plot. They own the house. Now, we did establish during our talk on the episodes that they are sort of landlords in situ for the church commissioners. We talked about all that in the previous episode. But in this case, they do own the house.
That's too complex when we're talking about the property being bought up. So now they own the
because
house.
The whole point of the plot is that they have the power to sell this house or not, as the case may be. But so we do have George and Mildred, but pretty much as we know them. I've got a little clip here to demonstrate their relationship. Well, let's have a look at that.
22 years of marriage. All we've got to show for it is that house.
Well, it wasn't my fault. I went to the clinic and they said it wasn't my fault.
Well, it certainly wasn't mine.
I don't like children.
Look, George, you can't hit the jackpot if you don't put the money in the machine.
Poor old Mildred, still gagging for it.
Yeah, and that does kind of come up as part of the plot.
Yeah, let's talk about that because it doesn't matter about spoilers. There's a sort of subplot where she mentions the first love of her life and how what could have been, and then at the end that sort of pays off, and he ends up moving into the spare room, which seems a bit much.
Yeah, with no real doubt as to why he's there. George George sat in the living room, but I think George. I think
everyone's happy with that. I think everyone's happy with that arrangement.
George would happily just stay in the living room. They can be at it in the bedroom, no problem.
He can just play with his budget.
If only we. But this is it. We need to embrace the polycule but it just wasn't popular in the 70s, was it?
This is another thing in that London. No, I don't approve of. Let's talk about Robin a little bit. So, there's quite a bit of toplessness with Robin. We see quite a lot more of Richard O'Sullivan's body than
the toplessness I was expecting in the film's 70s spin-off.
They're usually a bit more racy in the cinema versions, but they're not. All we see is a bit of weedy Robin with his top off. He's a bit weedy, isn't he? I don't want to judge, but he is a bit weedy.
I think he's. I don't know. I think he's got a nice. I look at that and go, "Oh, I remember being 25."
Do you remember how in the series we were talking about how he's sort of coded gay? He's not gay. He's clearly not gay because the whole point is the will he won't he with Chrissy. But he's coded kind of effeminate, wet. And there's a couple of examples in this here. He's at catering college and he's the only man in the entire class.
Yes.
And then there's a nice bit of sort of gender reversal later on when the girls are late coming home and he's burnt the dinner and he's upset with them, all that sort of thing.
Oh, I've got a clip of that. Yeah, that's a nice. I thought that was a nice.
Let's drop that.
It was a nice example of that play. Yeah, let's have a look.
Oh. And what time do you call this?
7:45?
Exactly. And my chicken toifle has been ready for the last half an hour.
Blimey, we should have brought in some flowers.
I've done my best to save it, but I'm not promising you anything.
You are sweet.
You can't get round me like that. Perhaps you'd like to join us?
Hey, we better watch out, otherwise we'll go back to Mother.
That's like a classic sitcom trope, isn't it? Usually it'd be a bloke coming home from work with his mate, and she's
half cut, from the pub. Yeah, so it's in a very 70s way, a gender role reversal there. But yeah, I mean, he's even doing the slightly camp voice that Robin will do, usually as a joke, but it's kind of just... He knows he's not really supposed to say this stuff, but he wants to say it. He's pissed off.
Yeah, well, he feels it. Yeah, he's genuinely annoyed. Yeah. So we see him at catering college, and then we also see him. He's like working in a working kitchen with disgusting Bill Maynard. So I couldn't quite make out what that was. Like, is that his job? He's got a job and he's at college? How does that work?
Sort of right at the beginning, it says it's the last day of college, and so he's got a job working in the kitchen for the summer.
That makes
and then
sense.
he also says to Larry, there's a waiter's job going, and so Larry's in situ for us later on in the restaurant scenes.
Have you got a clip of Bill Maynard? Because it's always lovely to see him.
Yeah, and have a look at the state of the kitchen, because that's kind of part of the point, is that he goes to this kitchen and it's absolutely grotesque. But yeah, let's have a look at old Bill Maynard there.
Yeah, one vanilla.
Oh no, sorry, can you make that chocolate?
I'll do my best. Abracadabra.
Got a cigarette on.
It's not worked. Here, cover it in curry powder. They won't know the difference. I'd love to go for a Jimmy. Cup hold of
that. You got a flag on like that. Good detail.
Yeah, cigarette in his hand or in his mouth, depending on the bit. And
so let's just check. You do get that impression, right? You did get that reference.
Oh, Tommy Cooper, yeah.
Good. I don't know if you might be before your time. That's great. That's always lovely to see Tommy. That was one of those things like in the 70s, everyone could do a Tom. I'll do it for you. Just like that. That's it. I'm not saying it's a good Tommy Cooper impression. Doesn't have to be.
Do your Frank Spencer.
Oh, Betty. See? Doesn't matter. It's like the law. You have to have that in the back pocket ready to go at any moment.
Yeah, so we do have Bill.
You're laughing at me, but I tell you what, if anybody who's watching this, if you're not doing that in your head or preferably out loud right now, then why are you even watching a nostalgia-based podcast?
Hello, I am here to interrupt this episode to plug our Patreon. Yes, that's right. We've been doing this podcast for several years now in audio only, but we want to go big. Yes, we're on video now. First of all, you can see us on YouTube and watch the clips that we're talking about alongside it. But we're going to be doing weekly episodes now. No more sporadic content, much more regular, but that does mean a lot more work. Look, we put a lot of time and effort into this podcast, and we do it because we love it. But if you love it as well, you can now support us financially. Ooh, yes. Just go to patreon.com/BritcomPod, and there's several different tiers with different benefits, but basically, for £5 a month, you can support us and help us produce more content. And that means you get access to a members-only episode every month. That's right. Every month there will be 3 of the normal episodes free to everyone and 1 members only. Thank you very much. I won't bother you anymore. Please go back to the episode. Yeah, so Bill Maynard there is a lovely guest role. He's always a good guest. We saw him in Till Death Us Do Part as the neighbour, didn't we? Yeah, we've seen him. You know, I was looking at sort of
what's his lovely scene of him and Alf Garnett sat in their outside toilets having a chat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lovely
And I think for most people, Bill Maynard is Greengrass off of Heartbeat, isn't he? But in terms
he's
of
gaffer in my head, but I guess that's just an age thing.
Well, I was thinking in terms of like proper lead sitcom role, he was in Selwyn Froggatt. That was kind of his main thing, which was sort of around this time. I think it was mid-70s that started. Nice to see him. And the interesting thing here is the whole point is he's rough. He's a rough old, like merchant navy chef, and he's now working in his kitchen. It's a mess. Robin is like absolutely offended by the whole thing. Bill,
there's a scene later on, Alan, and I there's a scene later on where the kitchen's just a lot nicer, and he's in a proper chef's uniform. And I missed. How did that happen? Did something happen that I just wasn't paying enough attention?
No, I think the scriptwriters missed it as well.
It's not like, hang on a minute, what's the continuity of this kitchen?
Yeah, exactly. We have this scene setting up, and it's all right tip, and this guy's a dirty old dog. And like Robin says, "Oh, I usually put garlic salt in my batter." And the chef
garlic salt,
garlic salt. But he also accuses him of being homosexual.
That's not.
Robin wants the kitchen to be clean and to have pride in his food, and therefore he's homosexual. But then the next time we go to the kitchen, it's spick and span, everything in its place. Robin is essentially in charge, and Bill Maynard, our chef, is very deferential to him and like, "Yes, sir, what can I do for you? I'll better go and wash my hands." He's completely changed him. Yeah, and no scene there to explain that. I
wonder if there's a deleted scene. I wonder if that's a.
I think there must be something, because otherwise you're just what are we doing here? But just to mention
that, because I thought I'd missed something.
Yeah, well, it's worth mentioning that this was written by the same writers, Brian Cook and Johnny Mortimer, same writers as the series, and it's all new material. It's not kind of repurposed like the Rising Damp film. So I think it doesn't feel like 3 episodes stitched together, which we often see for these films.
It feels like a 90-minute story.
Yeah, I think it can get a bit sketchy. You know, like a little bit like here's a scene, but it's okay. It's not too bad as far as.
Well, actually, the main gist of this of the plot is this property developer trying to buy things up, and that doesn't actually start like Peter. Is it Cellier or Kellier? How do we say his name?
I don't know. I've been pronouncing it Kellier.
I'm calling it. Okay, well, I'll go with Kellier. Peter Kellier plays the sort of evil landlord's agent trying to buy up the property. We don't actually see him for the first half of the film. So he's kind of the antagonist, but he's not present for the first half. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he pops up. We sort of see him in the background lurking around and like, who's that guy? But yeah, we don't really establish who he is until about halfway through. But Peter Kellier, where do you know Peter Kellier from?
He was the sexually assaulting major in Keeping Up Appearances.
That's correct, yes. Well done. He was also in Yes, Prime Minister. He was in that as...
Yes, he was, yeah. I remember him in that too. Yeah.
Sir Frank Gordon, he was in that, yeah. So, but one of those guys who's been around the houses in the sitcom world, Peter Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a sort of supercilious, posh guy. That's his do.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come back to him. I wanted to talk a little bit about strip poker.
Okay,
just like Robin, who's desperately dropping hints. Is it Larry who puts the idea in his head and he's just dropping hints?
No, it's the chef. The chef's giving stories about when he's done it.
Right, that's right. So what I quite liked is he put a load of clothes on before they started playing, so he gave him a little bit of ballast, But I don't know. Don't you? I've never. Have you ever played strip poker, Alan? I don't know really what the rules are.
I don't. Yeah, I can't. I've never figured out how it works.
Don't you want to get your clothes off? Like, isn't that like putting extra clothes on? What's the point of that?
No, you want to get the other people's clothes off. so that you can look at them.
Obviously, you want to. Yeah, you want. I understand that desire, but also, don't you want to get? Let's all get naked. Isn't that the whole point?
It's the 70s, guys. Well, what I'm not sure about is obviously, if every item of clothing is like a chip and you can bet it. What if you win? Like if Robin wins Chrissy's clothes, can he put them on?
I don't know. I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah, I don't.
So, our viewer, have you ever played strip poker? What are the rules? How did it go? Why don't you just have sex? Well, I suppose different. It was the 70s, was different. But why don't we just take our clothes off and have sex? Why would we listen about with cards?
Well, look, Chrissy likes the softly approach. She likes to be wooed.
She likes to be wooed. Oh, there's a really fun. So basically, the gist of this is, Robin's had this great idea, but Chrissy's really good at cards. It turns out she's a bit of a card shark, and he ends up naked. But there's a big reveal where she starts shuffling the cards, and she's like manipulating the cards like an expert in her hands. She's got these fat hands. It's obviously not her hands.
Yeah, cut to close up the guy they hired to do the
sort of fat,
work.
mannish hands shuffling the cards. I will tell you, I'll make a little confession. It is one of my bugbears. It's right up there with fake spoonerisms. One of my bugbears is cards. People playing cards. It's so dull. Like, oh my God, yeah, I've got 4 queens. No one could possibly beat this. Oh no, you've got 4 kings. Like, it's the same every single time. Like James Bond, I'm quite a Bond fan, but every time he plays cards, I just check out. It's like, oh God. Even that film, was it Casino Royale, where he, in between 2 hands, he dies and has to defibrillate himself. I mean, that is pretty exciting. But then he just goes back to playing cards. Boring.
Well, okay.
So anyway, there's a bit of that, and the only thing that can possibly make it a bit more exciting is seeing Richard O'Sullivan's chest again.
Hey, I don't know if you noticed this, Gareth, actually, but when Chrissy and Robin are playing strip poker, Jo is there in the background. She's just sat at the back. Did you notice she was in the film?
So when we were talking about the series, we had this discussion where she's a weak character and doesn't really add anything. And I've got to tell you, if Jo hadn't been in this film, would you have noticed?
No.
She does nothing, does she?
There's one scene where her and Larry kind of have a scene together where,
that's right.
But it's not really.
That could have been any woman. That could, in the series we saw Larry with another woman, and that would have worked just as well.
And I say it gets a little bit. I would say it gets a little bit sketchy. That feels just like a little thing that's been inserted in. You could take that out. It wouldn't really matter. The only consequence of that is that Larry comes home early and catches Robin and Chrissy at it.
Sally Tomsett's agent has rung the writers and said she ain't got anything to do here. It's like, yeah. I'll tell you one thing I noticed in the strip poker scene, and it wasn't the only time I noticed it. I really noticed the absence of the studio audience, the laugh track. Like the back and forth banter that we enjoyed so much in the series. It felt a bit weaker, and I don't think it's because it was weaker written. It's just because there was no laugh track to pace it.
Yeah, do you know what? I thought exactly the same thing, because it just wasn't as funny, it wasn't as charming, and it was like, well, it's not the writing. What is it? And I think it just doesn't have the rhythm. It doesn't have the pace of it. And these are actors, certainly most of them, who are just adept at riding that audience, feeling the flow of it. You've got that audience warmed up, Felix Bowness has sorted them all out. It feels good. You got that energy in the room, and here it just doesn't have that. So those little jokes, those little asides, it's just like plop, there they are, and it just doesn't feel the same.
I agree. Well, we talked about
because it's not written to be that.
We've talked about that before in these film adaptations. It really misses the studio audience, I think. So let's talk about the property developer. We've already mentioned Peter Kelleher. And actually, we find out in a little while who Peter Kelleher is working for. I'll come back to that. But the gist of the plot here is that they are trying to buy up old houses and, redevelop the property, make a load of money. Have you got a clip here?
Let's have a look. But yeah, it is. It's Spiros is the name that gets thrown around all the time.
Yeah, so Spiros is the sort of property developer, which is a very idiosyncratically Greek name, isn't it?
Yeah. I was wondering about that, actually. I want to ask you about that. I thought you might know, because obviously it's the evil property developer is a bit of a trope, right? But the fact that it's Spiros felt very specific, and it just reminded me of something that this time last year, right, I was in Adelaide in Australia, and there was loads of buildings. They have a big sign on it, and it says Polites, Polites. And when I did a walking tour on one of these things, the guide told us what it was. Like, why are there so many buildings with Polites on it? And it was a property developer by the name of Konstantin Polites, who during like the 60s, 70s, 80s bought up loads of property and put his name on them just to kind of go, this is mine. But the story goes, to be fair, this guy was a son, he's Australian born, but son of a Greek immigrants, and self-made man, like completely like from the ground up. So I think generally he's quite well liked. And the idea was, if my name is on a building, come there. There's work to be got. There's cheap rent.
Right.
Like, this is a branding of like, I'm one of the people.
Yeah. Well, let's spoil it. So Spiros, it turns out, is Arthur Lowe.
Yeah.
When we get
is
to
played
actually
by
see
Arthur
him,
Lowe.
I mean, with all due respect, he doesn't look like a Spiros.
Yeah, he's not even doing the accent or anything. He's just Arthur Lowe as is. Let me give you I'll give you a quick comparison here, Gareth, because I did look up the guy I was talking about, Konstantin Polites, because I thought, what does a Greek Australian property
is this going to be like racist just to look at it?
Well, just imagine, picture in your head what you think that might be, and this.
Well, now I feel racist. Hey, I gotta be honest, it's better than I thought it was going to be.
But it's not that different to Arthur Lowe. It's just got a more ostentatious mustache.
Oh, good old Polites, eh? Man of the people. Is that, sorry, go back to Polites. Is that his waistband? Is that his waistline up there, just under his nipples?
Above his nipples,
top of his trousers, just under his nipples. What chest size are those trousers?
He's an older gentleman now. That's all right. That's the way you do
it. Anyway, okay, so we've got this in the film. We've got Peter Kelly is trying to buy up. He's sort of trying to buy up all this property, and so they form a residents' association to try and resist. And we have a lovely scene in the local pub where Chrissy basically gets volunteered to be chairperson of this. No, chairman. Why am I dancing about? It was 1974. She was the chairman of the residents' association, and we do see a couple of the neighbours at this point, don't we? So we see that very camp man that you referred to earlier, sort of Quentin Crisp type character. Oh, there we are. And look at his little friend. His little friend who is, well, let's call him his housemate, Melvin Hayes there.
Melvin Hayes.
Like the Adonis.
Yeah, they sort of make fun of that because the older gentleman sort of talked about him like he's a Greek statue and all this sort of stuff. And it's Melvin Hayes. And it's like, is that part of the joke?
Particularly good still there as well.
But Melvin Hayes, of course, was friends with Richard O'Sullivan, or certainly they'd worked together anyway, and had worked together a few times in the Cliff Richard films.
Cliff Richard films, so yeah.
And we decided last week that this month's special Patreon-only episode will be us looking at The Young Ones, not the sitcom, the Cliff Richard film.
The Cliff Richard film. So the film which stars Cliff Richard, Richard O'Sullivan, and Melvin Hayes. We'll be looking at that.
Yes. Yes, an interesting little snapshot of British film history there. Yes, do go to patreon.com/BritcomPod, and you can we'll give you a proper plug for that later. But yes, so Melvin Hayes crops up in this is essentially a sort of featured cameo, isn't it? It's not exactly. I think Melvin Hayes, even in the 70s, was above it, but maybe he was mates with Richard O'Sullivan or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So we've seen that neighbour. We'll also see a bit later on. We see another neighbour who's a sort of your classic sitcom cougar, sexually aggressive older woman. The milkman's terrified. The postman's terrified. Robin's terrified. A couple of cameos here. The postman was.
Oh, I've got a clip. I'll show it, and then people can see,
our viewers
who it is.
see.
So yeah, this is the character Miss Bird who lives up the road, and she is a sexually threatening woman, and therefore all the men are scared of her. Let's have a look at that.
Yeah, son. Yeah? Not going up to Miss Bird's flat, are you?
Yeah?
Stick us outside her door.
You recognise him?
Haven't got time this morning.
Yeah.
You're not going up to Miss Bird's flat, are you?
Yeah.
Shove these through a box for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a married man.
So it's all set up nicely there. Miss Bird.
Let's see Miss Bird herself. Let's have a look.
In her negligiggy.
So Robin is dragged straight into the house, and all the men doff their caps. We've got the loss of another good man.
That's a good freeze frame. So we've got Bill Pertwee on the left as the postman, and the milkman, someone I've never seen in a sitcom before, is Johnny Briggs off of Coronation Street.
Off of Coronation Street, yeah. Yeah, who was pretty much was just in Coronation Street, and that didn't do any other work after that.
Well, I think he probably started Coronation Street not long after this, and that was him.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years after. But like he was just the sort of guy who'd come in and do a day player role on something like this. Yeah, that was the level of his career at the time.
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, a nice couple of little cameos there.
Meeting more of our neighbours.
I found that interesting, though. You know, the idea of when Robin actually is confronted by a woman who wants to have sex, he's completely flummoxed. And now, obviously, she is presented as an older woman cougar type, but that means she's like 37 or something.
Yeah, she's not old.
She's not old. She's a perfectly attractive woman. And you'd think with Robin, the way he is, he'd be after a bit of it, wouldn't he?
At any point,
or at least all the other guys.
Let's talk about the sort of adult content. So we've had some strip poker, but we've seen nothing but Robin's shoulders. Sometimes in these films, you do get a little bit more racy content, a bit more bad language, but not in this. Not in this example. There's not really any more adult content.
Yeah, and we've seen in the likes of Steptoe and Son, they will get a couple of boobs out. Or one of the characters is a stripper, and you want to have a bit of titillation, so to speak. We say the same in On the Buses. So they are prepared to go a bit further, but we don't get that here. And now I don't expect Paula Wilcox to be stripping off.
No,
but the point of having characters like this, the cougar woman, and there's another character who is like a mistress, you bring in those guest actors to get the boobs out. Like that's who you hire, the people who are doing that. But we don't get that. In fact, we don't even get like underwear shots. It's not racy at all.
It's really good family fun. Nope, you could watch this with the kids and with the grandma. So let's complete the set of neighbours there as well then, because you've just mentioned there's a younger woman who it transpires is the mistress of the local MP. The MP is played by Patrick Newell. There's a great line here. She's trying to get him to come over and visit. I've got a new gym slip specially. It's in your size. Hey! Great joke. Great joke. Do you know what? That gym slip thing felt like a really specific reference, but I couldn't find one. I was Googling sex scandals, Tory MP gym slips. That's going to be on my Google history forever. But,
maybe it's just a 70s thing.
Yeah. Well, paedophilia was all right then. Schoolgirls was fine. It was fine. But this was like 10 years after the Profumo affair, where Jack Profumo, who was a minister, was found having an affair with Christine Keeler. And, the problem of that was that she was also in a relationship with some Russian guy, some Russian spy, and that was what brought him down. But it was kind of, that idea that Tory MPs would have a woman in a house in Pimlico, that sort of thing. That's what we're playing on here. I couldn't, who knows how true that is and how many of them there would have been, but that was certainly in the culture.
Well, when someone mentioned it, they said, "Oh, you own a property on that street," and he says, "Oh, one must have a property in one's constituency." So he's bought it on the expenses and he's put his mistress in there. Classic stuff, isn't it?
And that was fine until 2010, Unexpected scandal happened. Yeah, I do like. Just incidentally, there's a lovely moment here where we're in Patrick Newell's office. He's the MP, and there's a poster of him on the wall wearing exactly the same suit and pocket square. There you go. There it is.
I mean, that's an old gag. They do that in Airplane, and it's also they do it in the IT Crowd. I remember when Chris Morris was in it. I think it was in very early days. He's like posing in front of a picture in exactly the same pose.
So basically, Peter Kelly starts picking these neighbours off one by one, and he's hoovering up the sales of the properties. Actually,
he's buying the houses. He's not killing them. You made him sound like an assassin.
Sorry. Yeah. Before we move on, we've missed a scene where basically Robin and Chrissy get it on.
Oh, yes, and this was an interesting, in terms of our difference from film to series. This was one of the major differences. Robin and Chrissy are a bit will they, won't they? But we go much further down the will they road than ever before or since in terms of the show.
They have a little snog and then they get disturbed. Larry and Joe come home and they just, it's all over. Yeah, so I don't think it's ever explicitly said, but we are led to believe that was it. You've had your chance. It's all over now.
Oh, poor Robin.
Yeah.
He's so
poor
close.
Robin. Poor Robin. So basically, Peter Kelly has now managed to buy up all these properties except the Ropers. So George is the last holdout. And, George is so stubborn. Will he agree to sell? That's the question.
Well, I've got a clip of this because obviously George wants to sell, but now because he's the only one who hasn't sold, he thinks he's got this guy over a barrel. He can charge what he wants. But yes, unfortunately, he's a very weak man, and Peter Kelly is a few steps ahead. So let's have a look at that.
You need this house, eh? The last one. Puts me in a very strong bargaining position, eh?
No.
Well, of course, I know all about these things. How do you mean?
Well, I really dropped in to apologize. You see, when we knock down the other 5 houses, it's bound to cause you a lot of inconvenience. Dust, noise, possibly vermin. Reduce the value of your property.
Hang on. I haven't refused to sell it.
Well, I wouldn't try to persuade you, Mr. Roper.
Oh, I'll sell it, yeah. The same price as you paid the others.
Done.
What a negotiator.
And you take it with the sitting tenants.
So he rolls over in 4 seconds. But yes, the snafu with all that is that they have sitting tenants. And apparently at the time, tenants had rights and they couldn't just be kicked out easily.
But that sets up the final act, really. And, there's a bit of a, let's not go into the full plot. There's shenanigans where there's a deadline. George is desperately trying to sell the house and cash in. The tenants are trying to put him off.
He basically, Pluthero, the Peter Kelly character, he has to convince Chrissy to kind of go out and basically forgo their contract as tenants. And he's offering her money and all sorts. He takes her out to dinner. So she goes to Robin's restaurant. And they poison him in an attempt to
syrup of figs.
Him. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about this.
Incidentally, syrup of figs. So I know what you're thinking. Cockney rhyming slang alert, but it's not. It's not. It's nothing to do with a hairpiece. It's actual syrup of actual figs,
which is a laxative, right? That's certainly the end result. So is this a very 70s thing where this, laxatives before we had proper scientifically based medicine?
Yeah, before you had tablets that could do the same thing, you had to use syrup of figs. I don't know to be honest, but it would obviously have been a reference that everyone would get. Syrup of figs equals you're going to shit yourself inside out.
Yes, so they dose him with that,
and that's the shenanigans of the next 10 minutes. Is Peter Kelly
shits himself inside out? Yeah. Anyway, so we do create this ticking clock situation where George is on a mad dash to catch Pluthero, Peter Kelly's character, to say, here is the signed document I will sell.
What about Thames TV? We get some Thames TV shenanigans, Alan.
Exactly. The point of this is George has to go to the Thames Television studios in order to catch Pluthero. And yes, obviously this show, the TV series, was made by Thames TV. However, the film is not. And there's always a little bit of grey area as to how those negotiations happened. Are they getting a back end of that? Are they getting a little touch off of that? Yeah, do they just have to let the writers?
Well, we have. Let's talk about intellectual property here. We do have. We have Jack Smethurst and Rudolph Walker.
Yes.
I put Jack Walker there. He used to own Newcastle United. That's why I paused there. Rudolph Walker. And so they're obviously the characters from Love Thy Neighbour. They're the actors from Love Thy Neighbour. Yes. So they are playing themselves. They're not in character, but they are certainly making reference to their characters.
George is knocking about the TV studio so we can have a couple of cameos from TV actors. So yeah, we got.
You got a clip of that, Alan?
No, couldn't find a clip that wasn't racist. So
some very 70s language used in that little sketch. It was a different time.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of different time, we also have Spike Milligan.
Yes. Well, hang on, let me show you there. There we go. We got our boys from Love Thy Neighbour. But yes, we get Spike Milligan as well. He pops up in a little cameo, just sort of being Spike Milligan-y.
So this is the thing, right? So we've talked about Spike Milligan on the podcast before, and usually when we see Spike Milligan, he is in brownface, and so we have talked about him in the context of his racism and different times. However, there's nothing at all racially insensitive about this particular appearance, but what it is dog shit.
Yes.
Now, I don't get Spike Milligan at all.
Yeah,
it does nothing for me.
Well, I would love to sort of argue with you just for the sake of kind of having a good discussion about it, but I don't get Spike Milligan.
I mean, this is Spike Milligan being Spike Milligan. He's doing the Spike Milligan thing, and if you like Spike Milligan, this is a lovely little 5 minutes. But
it's very clear that they have not scripted it. He's doing his bits, and like they just rolling along with it and fine. Yeah. But the thing with Spike Milligan, right? I've never seen him do anything that I found funny or entertaining. However, I do appreciate, from an artistic point of view, you need those people on the edges, on the outliers, that are kind of creating slightly wacky things to create that conversation in the art world and to make other things feel more acceptable. People,
so that people can then follow them with slightly more mainstream versions of what they do that become more popular, and I'll watch that.
Or slightly more finessed version. Yeah, it's all about kind of, he's the sort of person where people say he was an influence on me. Yeah. But I must admit, I've never liked anything he's ever done. So.
Look, when we talked about Rick Mail, I said this similar thing. If you are a Spike Milligan fan, then this is great. This is a lovely little 5 minutes, but it just does not do it for me at all.
Yeah, we do get one more little cameo within these scenes, but it's not as himself cameo. It is playing a character. Michael Robbins,
security guard,
sitcom
a bribable security. He's got a fag on. Bribable security guard.
But Michael Robbins again from an ITV show, not Love Thy, sorry, On the Buses, of course, was Arthur in On the Buses. So again, just another one of the old boys who's probably just in the studios, and they said, "Can you come put this uniform on, do a shot for us?" Yeah, 50 quid. Cheers. 50 quid might be a bit much actually in this 1974.
We're basically at the end of our film, and it all wraps up. The preservation order's on, the house is saved, everyone's happy, except presumably the people who are stood to make a lot of money by selling it, but that's fine. Our tenants are happy, and it all wraps up neatly. And as I said before, Mildred gets to move her old lover into the back room, which is that's not a euphemism, it's actually the back room. and credits roll, and that's it. It's quite nicely all wrapped up neatly.
Yeah, and it's a solid 90-minute kind of plot. It's nothing too groundbreaking. Evil property developer, and we have to get the gang together to kind of, oust the villain.
I think you couldn't have done that story in half an hour. They've thought, right, we've got 90 minutes. What can we actually do with this? And it's they've done a good job. And you're right that it can be a bit sketchy at times, but that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
And you'll notice that all the scenes we've been describing and talking about, we haven't talked a lot about George and Mildred, but they are in it quite a lot. But I think their scenes are just kind of, let's put some George and Mildred in, and it's not.
But this was only after the first two series. You remember their characters in the series became more prominent as time passed.
I think they are prominent in the film, but they have not come prominent in our discussion. And I think that's telling of their role in the film.
Yes.
Because they are important in terms of like their placement within the story, but we haven't gone, oh, this was a really good bit.
Yes,
so perhaps that's telling of something. But they're both very good, obviously, as they usually are.
Incidentally, the closing credits, same music, but we get a sort of panning shot across the rooftops. Like, it would be a drone now, but we didn't have drones, so you just had a bloke hanging off the chimney with a camera. And as we get this sort of panning shot around St. John's Wood, I thought to myself, well, fair enough, it's a bit of a shithole. Could do we knock him down?
Knock it down.
It looked dirt. Like, we said in the series when we saw the Thames, it just all looked dirty and just knackered.
Yeah. So how do we feel about this as a film overall? I think it works as a film script-wise. It has the same flavor of our TV show. I don't think they really changed that much, but it's just lacking. It's lacking a spark. It's lacking energy somehow, which I think is the audience.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, we've talked about that in previous film adaptations as well. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed spending 90 minutes with the characters again. And I try and think, well, what was this made for? In 1974, if it was Christmas, let's go to the cinema and watch a film. I'd been fine. It'd have been a nice evening out.
Yeah, bit of Spike Milligan, hey.
Yeah. Well,
having said that, the poster has like our main three names on it, and then it's like Spike Milligan, Arthur Lowe, Rudolph Walker.
Really?
They put those names on there pretty.
Arthur Lowe's only in it twice. He's only in 2 scenes.
That's the beauty of it. Like, they filmed that in one day. It's all in one room. All his scenes. They'd have to change the lighting. Like, boom, bash that out. Yeah, nice stuff.
Yeah.
50 quid.
Didn't even give him a moustache. Well, I think that's it. I think we've wrung all the juice out of the Man About the House movie. So we are going to be back next week with the young ones, right?
Not the sitcom. Just really want to make that clear. But yes, and that is on our Patreon only. You have to be a Patreon to get that. So go and check out patreon.com/BritcomPod for the bonus content that you have to pay for. Cha-ching.
We would love you to support us, but please don't feel like you have to. We are still going to be producing loads of free episodes, just as we always have. And we will be back in a couple of weeks with a whole new sitcom.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.